Today we're going to talk about why I think that now is the perfect time to return to Age of Wonders 4. Let's get to it. When Paradox reached out to me asking to sponsor a video for their upcoming DLC called Empires and Ashes, I jumped on the opportunity. Age of Wonders 4 is a game that absolutely consumed me for about a month, so I was super excited to have a reason to return to it. And I immediately assumed there would be tons of broken mechanics in the DLC for me to exploit and make a video about. Boy, was I wrong. When Age of Wonders 4 first came out, it was very unbalanced and had a ton of broken builds in it, many of which I made guides for. Since then, it appears that the devs have been hard at work bringing a lot of quality of life stuff to the game, as well as bringing a ton of balance to the game. And I will talk about that here in a moment, but as they want me to specifically highlight their new DLC, we're going to talk about my thoughts on that first. Let's start off by talking about what all this DLC contains. First off, you have the new culture, the Reaver Culture. You get the Avian Form, just makes your people look like bird people. 4 new tomes, the Seals of Power victory mechanic, 2 new story missions, a new Ancient Wonder and Infestation location, new wildlife units and mounts, as well as 6 new music tracks. For those of you who may care about the music, I don't, so that one is completely moot to me. So as many of you know who have stuck around this channel for some time, and for those of you who do not, even though this is a sponsored video, all of my opinions are my own and are not swayed by any amount of money that they may or may not be paying me. So not everything I have to say about this DLC is going to be some super positive hype train. First off, the Reaver Culture. This would be my personal main reason for buying the DLC. The Reaver Culture fits my playstyle. If your playstyle is not a super aggressive playstyle, this probably isn't the culture for you, and you may lean towards one of the many other things that comes with this DLC, probably specifically the tomes. So the Reavers are a very interesting culture. First off, their structures produce production and mana. That's cool combo. It helps you cast spells and build buildings and stuff faster. Great, fantastic. The interesting thing about them is they specialize in bursting down targets with the marked target ability. And there's a few different things that they can do that will mark a target. Some things are like casting nets on targets to immobilize them. And then there's just the straight mark the target ability. It doesn't do anything other than just mark the target. When a target is marked, they are easier to hit. Then they also have the focused aggression ability, which they do additional damage to marked targets. So marking a target gives them a 10% debuff to their evasion, making them easier to hit, and that stacks up to 5 times for a total of 50% decrease to their evasion. On top of that, the Reaver Culture also starts with negative whispering stones. So this is a culture that is about war. This is not a diplomatic culture. You're not over there whispering in people's ears. You are showing your supremacy and dominating everything on the map. They also have the Total War ability, which means they can just go to war with anybody for any reason whatsoever and not suffer any penalties. They don't need a reason to go to war. They can just go to war. And then the most interesting one is the War Spoils ability. And I actually really like this ability. It states in the game that War Spoils are a unique resource gathered by the Reavers through conquest and battle with empires and free cities. They can be used to intimidate, extort free cities or other empires. And you gain war spoils by fighting and conquering cities. Really easy to comprehend that, really easy to gain war spoils. Now, the fun thing here is you can use war spoils to trade goods, which is very interesting because then you don't have to use your other stuff. So for example, you can just trade war spoils for mana instead of trading gold for mana. This allows you to use your gold for other things that you use gold for and not be converting it directly to mana. The other interesting thing about war spoils is that you can use it to declare your supremacy towards free cities or other rulers on the map. This is extremely strong because it disables the grudge caused by grievances, and on top of that, it has the same effect of giving them a whispering stone, so it slowly moves your influence of them closer to 300. Now, you have to spend war spoils every turn that you do this, so that means you either need to have a buildup of them or you need to be constantly fighting in order to fuel this, and you can turn it off and on whenever you want. I actually really enjoy this mechanic because once again, again, it fits my personal play style. If you tend to not play very aggressive, this may not necessarily be the culture for you. Another thing I like about the Reaver culture is the new units that they get. So these are supposed to be a culture that specializes in creating constructs, and I was a little surprised that you don't end up getting more than what you do. So I just expected like most of their units would be considered constructs, but they're not. But they have a few engines of war that are absolutely phenomenal. First, you get the cannon, which operates like you would think it's a cannon. So it actually shoots through multiple targets in a straight line, which is very strong in combat. They get shut down relatively easily, so you do need to protect them. But if you can protect them, they can absolutely devastate the enemy. And then my ultimate favorite thing that they have is the Ironclad. This is a massive siege engine, but it has the really neat capability of having different ammo. And one of the ammos that it has is an incendiary ammo. And one of the abilities that it has is just to bombard an area. Now you can bombard that area with said incendiary ammo, whether there are units there or not. This is extremely handy for putting off sections of the map because it forces the enemy to stand in an area that is lit on fire, causing them to take fire damage every turn. Now the AI will just stand in this because the AI doesn't care about standing in fire, but another player will route around the fire, which will help you funnel them into a specific area. Plus you can just every, I think it's 2 turns you can use this, pepper the ground in front of you with endless flames, making it very difficult for the enemy to fight you. This thing is crazy. It also has an ammo that weakens the target and an ammo that causes the targets to bleed. Now you can only switch to each one of these one time throughout combat, so you got to be careful on how you use them, but it is a very strong unit and I absolutely love it. So I'm not going to spend as much time on the tomes. The tomes, you get 4 new tomes and they are a hybrid of like artificers and nature lovers for the most part, with a little bit of evil mixed in. I didn't find them to be insanely powerful. They specialize in removing debuffs from your units and removing buffs from the enemy, as well as weakening the enemy. And of course, since this is a war culture, they have some really nice siege abilities as well. Now, I didn't find the tomes crazy powerful, and I honestly think they work best if you just mix 1 or 2 of them into known strong builds instead of trying to build a class or a culture with all of those new tomes. I had my best results with mixing in a little nature and a little undead shenanigans. So overall, they were kind of meh to me, but that could just once again be because of my specific play style. I play aggressively, so if you don't play as aggressively, the whole removing debuffs from your units and weakening the enemy might be something that is more your jam. But I do think the tomes are very balanced and they fit nicely in with the other tomes. As I stated, their best in my opinion is just accenting other builds that are currently viable to just change them up ever so slightly. The whole seals win condition to me is kind of it's very difficult to do because you have to keep units on the seals and you only get 1 point per turn. You need a total of 80 points. Now there's multiple seals and you can occupy multiple seals at one time to reach that 80 points faster, and you can decide on whether you want it to take more points or less points when you're setting up your map, but by default it's 80. But the longer you stand on the seals, more units will come to attack you. So you not only have to deal with the AI attacking you, but you also have to deal with just random NPC hordes spawning around you and all of a sudden attacking you to then stand on the seal if they win, and then you have to fight them back off the seal and stand on it again. And this may be balanced. Some people may consider this balanced. I consider it to be a pain in the butt. I think that the only thing that should attack you when you are on the seal is the other NPCs. If they don't want you on it, they should have to come fight you to get you off of it, or the other lords or whatever, not the roaming marauders or whatever it is. That's what spawns around you, is the roaming marauders. They don't belong to any faction. The other factions are the ones that should have to run you off the seals if you're standing on them. So I don't really care too much for that new win condition. It's okay, but I think it could be a lot better if the roaming bands of marauders didn't just spawn in and attack you every couple of turns. So they wanted this video in a very short time, so I didn't get a chance to play through the story missions. I'm not really a big story person anyway, so even if I did have more time, meh. But if you like story missions, there's 2 new ones for you. The bear mounts, on the other hand, are pretty neat. Now, I didn't select this as a trait for my people because I liked some of the other traits better, but I did pick one up for my ruler when I was playing. So you gain 10 additional HP and you gain the Overwhelm passive. And Overwhelm states that the unit deals plus 40% damage against units in defensive mode. That is a big number. So yeah, bear mounts are kind of cool. Now I want to take a quick second to talk about some stuff that is not DLC related and some of the main reasons I think now is the perfect time to return to this game, whether you buy the DLC or not. So do note that the stuff that I'm about to talk about is specifically not DLC related. Once again, it can get a little confusing when they release patches that have a lot of new content along with DLC stuff. So everything that we just talked about was in the DLC. Everything that I'm about to talk about is not DLC. It is a major game update containing a bunch of new stuff. So if you have the base game, you're going to get what they are referring to as the Golem update. The Golem update contains the item forge, which I want to get into in a second, which is just insane and I love it. And the new feature for war coordination, which is very handy, but there's something missing from it that I'll talk about that as well that I don't care for. And the overhaul to water gameplay, didn't notice much of a change there. They did a form trait rework, which has some interesting new traits in it, as well as just a bunch of quality of life changes. So first off, the item forge. This allows you to create absolutely insane custom gear for your heroes, and it is amazing. So beforehand, you had to rely on finding gear, and that gear may or may not fit whatever build you are going for your hero units. And it was a little frustrating at times because you get some stuff and you're like, wow, that's absolutely useless for me, and I'm gonna throw that in the old inventory and just leave it there and never touch it again. Now you can disenchant that stuff and break it down for a resource and then use that resource in order to create new custom gear that you can tailor to fit your specific hero build. And it's awesome. Then you have the war coordination. Now this one is a little bit, it's a hit and miss at the same time. So the war coordination is really great. So it allows you to take conquered cities that are vassals of you and you can tell them to go attack a specific enemy or fortify one of your fortresses or one of your cities or whatever. And that's really cool. And from this menu, you can also trade with them and all that as well. The downside to this, and something that I don't quite understand, unless I was just completely missing it, unless they stuffed it somewhere where it just wasn't visible in some random button, you can't use this on actual other enemy warlords. So as you see in the footage here, I vassalized this guy. I beat him down till he couldn't take it anymore and made him a vassal. But I have zero control over him whatsoever. I can trade with him and do all of the normal stuff that you can do with the other cities, but even though he's a vassal, I don't have the control to make him help me attack the other people that are on the map. And I think that I should. Why is it that I can only do this to free cities and I can't do this to other warlords that are on the map once I've specifically made them a vassal? It even uses the terms. If they are not the same kind of vassal as the free cities or other places that you've conquered, then they should be called something different. A vassal is a vassal, and if I can control the other ones, I should be able to give these guys orders as well. Now, I get that that can be insanely strong, but if I'm taking them over and I'm so strong that I've dominated them, then I should gain that as a strength. So that's my only critique there on the war coordination. Other than that, fantastic addition to the gameplay. So just the base game update that you're getting, the Golem update, in my opinion, and all of the updates that have come to Age of Wonders 4 since the last time I've played it, have made it an infinitely better game than it was on release. And it was a good game in my opinion on release. And now it has just gotten infinitely better. And they've done a fantastic job at balancing it. I don't feel, well, end game you feel strong no matter what, and you should feel strong end game, but I don't feel as broken early game, which is actually nice because I do enjoy a challenge. And overall, I think the game has improved massively. And if you enjoyed it when it first released and you haven't been playing it, you've shelved it for a while, I think now is the perfect time to return. If you enjoy a very aggressive play style, the DLC is definitely for you. And you can grab a copy of it by clicking the link down there in the description and in the pinned comment. I don't gain anything from you clicking that link specifically other than allowing Paradox to track all of my conversions. So it does help me out in that sense so that they will consider me for future endeavors. And even if you don't, you should totally return and check out the new Golem update. I also want to give a massive shout out and thank you to Paradox Entertainment for sponsoring this video. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this one. If you found this video helpful or informational in any way, please consider hitting the subscribe button and notification bell so you can be notified when I upload other videos. And if you're looking for some more content, you can find a link to another one of my videos on the screen right now. I want to give an absolute massive shout out and thank you to all of my channel supporters. You all are absolutely amazing people. If you would like to become an official channel supporter, check out the links in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy not, you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and share your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.